seriously, I mean,
talk about how you work with athletes. Because my sense is at that moment, either in an at-bat or a golf swing or whatever, you really have to accelerate some of that process.
Well, it's very similar. I mean, if you take golf, you have like a pre-shot routine and you have a post-shot routine.
Right.
So it's the same process of you talking with a client. So it's really the same thing. I mean, if it's a basketball situation, you know, during the play, you can't really do the post, but you can do it when they sit down, right, and they're on the bench, you know. But it's very similar. And so all the processes, and this is what I tell everybody, you know, it's all about emotional toughness, and the principles of emotional toughness, if they're true principles, they apply to business, they apply to sport, they apply to academics. It's all the same. It's just kind of how you cater it and coach it.
so I wanted one step further. Like, I don't care if it's a golfer that's a custom client of yours or whatever, but give an example of a pre-shot routine that we've all seen on TV watching the Masters. Or the
Okay, so I'll just take Brant Snedeker. So what they did with Brant, they actually did a little study with him at the Golf Channel, and they discovered that he takes 15 seconds. As soon as he takes the club out of the bag, it takes him 15 seconds to hit his shot. Every time, 15 seconds. He does the same behaviors, the same thoughts before he hits the shot. Same thing with putting and chipping. As soon as he gets the club in his hand, it takes him 15 seconds. So what we discover with routines is it's not only what you do and your emotions, but also the time element creates an important component.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what they do, but as long as you know, the best routine, if you want to talk about golf or whatever, builds rhythm. And it builds a mind that you're confident and you're ready to go. And so it doesn't matter what the routine is, as long as it puts you in the right emotional state. That's all that matters.
I guess one of the keys is if it's a slow day and they're playing 4 per and it's Thursday and you can't really get into your rhythm between holes because there's delays, his rhythm doesn't start until he pulls the club out.
Okay, so that relates a lot to talking on the phone. When you're a golfer, you have a lot of downtime. So really you have to put yourself in a bubble and then you have downtime. Bubble, downtime. Bubble, downtime. So that you can harness the energy. Because if you were basically focused for 4.5 hours, you'd burn out.
Right.
You got to learn to put yourself in a bubble and then be intently focused at that moment and then turn it off. And then have an intense focus and then turn it off. And I wrote this in my Mental Rules for Golf book on Amazon now. And the idea is that same thing with working throughout the day. If you were intently focused for 8 hours, you're going to burn out. You got to learn to turn it off and turn it on, turn it off, and be intently focused at that moment. So that's why you'd have to kind of have a routine to push your emotions and then turn it off, push your emotions and turn it off.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding that, is there a more formal process for turning it off? Turning off?
It could, well, there's no form, you mean like...
or just there's a process to get into it.
Well, it's up to you. It's really maybe a word or a statement, like enjoy. Like for a golfer, when they hit the shot, I tell them after they hit the shot, stop thinking about your swing. In fact, stop thinking about your score. Just enjoy the walk to the ball. Talk to your partner or whatever. Same thing with you. You just got to say, okay, I'm going to just relax, take a little downtime here. Whatever would work for you to kind of shut it off. It could be as easy as just pulling out a book you want to read for a minute or two.
Talk about, just for a second, the thing that made me pick that phone up and call you was a series of events over a month period where I knew that I was in an emotional state that wasn't positive because something that happens at some point in your day and you're moving forward with that. Nobody's had that happen, right? It's just me. And once that happens, the whole reset process, if you don't mind, go through that.
All right, so like for a baseball player.
Our first session was devoted to this, and I'm telling you, I learned a lot. And you also know me to be fairly process-driven, and I wanted a process. I believe in processes. And so what he's talking about mental images and all that may sound a little out there to you, but I will tell you I'm beginning to practice what Gregg has taught me, and it makes a difference. It doesn't matter if I'm at home with Seal or if I'm here at the office. If you can make yourself go through those mental images, tap yourself 3 times or whatever it is. I squeeze my leg, whatever it is.
Matthew McConaughey does it.
Right, it's got to be right.
All right. So I worked with the baseball team at Vanderbilt for a while, and so if you have a baseball player and they throw a pitch in the dirt, they get off the mound and they go like this. This is the release. They have a physical release, kind of brush it off. You see this all the time. And then they image themselves throwing a good pitch and they say, focus or next pitch. And then once they get on the mound, they've cleared their mind. You need some type of mechanism, a mental mechanism, a physical mechanism to let it go, to let go of the baggage. If you don't, we typically process it in our mind over and over again, and we just carry it with us, so it becomes a baggage, like it weighs us down. They say the greatest athletes have the shortest memory. Well, that's true to a certain degree, that they let it go, but the idea is most people need a mental mechanism, a physical mechanism. That's the release point, and that is you have a physical mechanism to release, and you might say, next client, or this is going to be a better day, whatever you want to say, but the idea is it kind of, you need some mechanism to push that away.
I didn't notice this while he was here, but did you ever see Bernard Pollard get on the Titans team, play safety, get burned by a pass? He would go like this every time, snap, 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 and then he'd grab his helmet, and then he'd walk back to the line. I mean, he had that release. I mean, professional athletes all around us have this, and there's no reason you can't engage it in your
Well, everybody, very successful people, whether they're musicians or athletes or politicians, they do it intuitively a lot, even if they don't work with like a coach. But a lot have been trained, and so what I was saying is the same principles apply to everything. It's just how you go about doing it and what venue is the key.
Go back to the pressure, if you don't mind. I don't know if hands are going up, but
should I go back to the squeeze?
Yeah, the squeeze.
Right.
And I think this is a real
level 2.
We're facing the fourth quarter, and one of the reasons I thought the timing would be good to bring Gregg in is sort of helped with that, the pressure, because there isn't a person in this room that doesn't feel the surge in need of this company during the fourth quarter.
Right. Well, of course, pressure is different for everybody. There's 2 ways you can go about doing it. You can decrease the pressure, right, by believing what you do has purpose. That's one way to do it. You can basically say to yourself, everything's a challenge. So like when I worked with Brad Snedeker, he used to tell me when he missed the green, he saw it as a challenge to get up and down. And if you're not a golfer, getting up and down means chipping it and then putting it. So every time he missed the green, he said, this is a challenge for me. And because he said it was a challenge, he labeled it as a challenge, he basically turned pressure into pleasure. And that's another key, is that we all feel pressure. So you can decrease it with relaxation, other things, but you can also label it like a positive surge of energy. And that's what really pressure is. It comes from the fight or flight response. And if you've heard that story about the lady picking up the car, and her kids underneath, that happens because we get the surge of energy. It comes from epinephrine, norepinephrine, and adrenaline. And basically, that's when we get so out of whack sometimes. But that is a surge of energy. And if you label it a certain direction, it can make you think faster, be faster, jump higher, all those things. And so really pressure is just a great energy that it can destroy you, which means burn you out, or it can make you superhuman. It depends on how you harness that energy. And so the great athletes harness it a certain direction, which is the right direction. And the ones that choke harness it out of the wrong direction because they think out of fear. They think this is gonna, now they feel nervous and they think now I'm gonna choke, whatever it is. And everyone asks me, I don't want to typically talk about Tiger Woods, but Tiger Woods has gone the totally opposite direction because now he's playing out of fear and negativity, and his physical game is still there, but he is totally in a slump because of his emotions. His emotions are out of whack, and maybe they're deservedly so out of whack, but the idea is that that's what it's all about. And when he was at his best, he was the most emotionally tough person on the planet. Yeah?
That's what I was meaning when I said to be positive, because you can turn something bad into something good, One of your slides said complaints, suggestions. It's everything the way you take it.
Right. How you label is very important. Yeah, positivity, right. And how you find that positive emotion is a key factor.
Brought up Tiger Woods, and we often can't reset. I mean, he's obviously in a bad place right now and has been for a few years. If you get stuck in that rut and your usual resets aren't helping you reset, how do you get past that? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, here's what I share with my class, which is a good image. and it goes like this. Now it's down to the side. This is the normal ups and downs we have in life. This is the normal things we have on a golf course, or as an athlete. What happens is when we're in a downward slide, when we start getting negative and we start doubting ourselves and being fearful that we'll never get better again, that's when we get in the major slump. And it can take months to get out of it. But during this time right here, if you remain confident, if you remain joyful, if you believe in yourself and know that this is just a temporary thing and this is the way life works, you'll get back up and back peak. And then we all know we're going to have a peak, and then eventually it comes down. And then it goes up and down. And just being appreciative of the ups and downs and knowing that on a downward slide, it's not necessarily permanent. It's not who we are. It's just the way it works. Energy, whatever you want to call it, bad day. It's the way life works. Just let it happen. You will get back out. But it's when you live by fear, doubt, negativity, and you're in the negativity bias that we talked about, that's when you get in the major slump.
Is there an action or how, if you get into that?
Well, there's other things, but I'm saying the first one, I think the most powerful thing is to let it be. Okay. And that is just accept that life has downward slides and don't force it. You know, sometimes you can force it and it gets even worse. Sometimes it's just okay to know that this is a bad day, I'm having a bad day, don't worry about it, or a bad week. But if it continues, then I might fix it. But what I'm saying is, sometimes as soon as like a golfer hits one bad shot, they start overanalyzing what they did wrong. I'm saying you can't do that, because that's the way life works. So you just sometimes, one strategy is to let it be. There's other strategies, but I'm saying sometimes we overthink it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
No, let me just add one quick thing to that, Craig. In some of my other studies, and actually through another coach, what I've learned is that on that downward slide, if it continues, those actually become teachable moments. You heard my image about Chris. Chris had failed several times in those situations of trying to make a sale, trying to gripping the ball a little tight. And finally he came in my office and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. That, on the downward slide, is when people tend to open up and say, I need a coach. I want to talk about this with someone who's away from where I am that can put this into perspective for me. And usually on the upward swing, you can't teach somebody something. Yeah. It's kind of interesting, you know, that it does work that way. Sorry, Christelle.
No, you're actually saying what I wanted to say. Yes, we're now the third person out of country, Gregg. What I wanted to say as well is when you get into that complete downward spiral, that is probably the time when you're going to need help, because you're going down at such a speed that you become incapable of helping yourself.
Yeah, you panic. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You need help, and it's always good to have an outside hand. You know, there's an old saying: it's hard to know what the picture looks like when you're inside the frame, and that's why it's good to have someone, you know, look here, and that's where slumps come from. Is that we panic and we overthink, we lose our confidence, and boom, it becomes a habit, and we wonder how we got here, and we never remember when we're being at our best. That's why it's really always important to be aware of what inspired you, why were you at your best, and keep those images really handy, because those are what I call golden nuggets, and just keep them handy, because there's always times when we're struggling. So if you keep the golden nuggets handy, it recalls all those great emotions. But before I forget, you know the segment in the middle that I talked about with the turning tragedy into transcendence? So I did a TED Talk on that. And so I'll send you the link if you're interested. You know,